Hi, Pisces. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for August of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kell Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mikos in San Francisco, California.
Well, Pisces, this month's horoscope focuses on work and partnership. If you need more guidance about your work life, a mission orders reading might be the thing. And if you're looking for direction in love and relationships, you might rather a lifelong love reading. You'll find links for these readings in the text that comes with this video. Well, Pisces, Juno is traveling along through your sign, and she's going to be there for quite a while because she has turned retrograde as of last month. And last month's playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, is where you will find more information about this. I'm just going to bottom line it right now. I would strongly recommend that you go back to last month's playlist to find that video and really check it out. But just to kind of bottom line it, Juno brings us into a relationship retrospection period whenever she goes retrograde, which she does about every year and a half, and it usually lasts for several months, which it's doing this year, having started in July and finishing in October. So this particular relationship retrospection has to do with how do your relationships, meaning long-term relationships, whether friendly or professional, how do they mesh with your spiritual value system? And this is going to bring about a lot of deep thoughts for many people and possibly some changes in relationships. So I thought that you should know that that is going on. And since it's in your sign, it might feel personal to you. You might even feel like there's some soul searching that you need to do personally about that. Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is Uranus traveling along through Taurus right now and turning retrograde on August 24. Right there, boom, the little red RX symbol, there's Uranus retrograde. And Uranus brings innovation and change, wacky new ideas, and he's traveling along through your house of thinking and learning, also your immediate environment, your neighborhood. When Uranus is here, and he generally spends a while here, you might go through a period in which, for example, you've got a irascible, curmudgeonly neighbor who's just kind of difficult and sort of throwing a monkey wrench into your neighborhood happiness. And you might have to deal with that. I'm going to come back to that thought when I talk about one of the moons that's happening during this month. But suffice it to say that anything that happens around this situation is likely to happen around or near the 24th. And if you want a better relationship with people in your neighborhood, then you might have to change some of your perspectives. And that could be where the solution lies. Hey, Julia, what's up with Mercury, Venus, and Mars for the Pisces of the world?
I got a lot of news for you, Pisces. I'll begin with Mercury. That's the planet that represents your mind. And wherever we have Mercury is where we can be very preoccupied that month, thinking and strategizing and planning about things. So Mercury starts the month in your 6th house, but he's only going to be here for the first few days of the month. And he was really in this house last month. And we actually really covered that in a lot of depth in our last month's video. So you should totally check those out. But while Mercury was in your 6th, it was a great time for getting organized because that's what the 6th house is all about. You may have even noticed that there was an increased level of communication with the people that you work with, which are also represented by the 6th. Then on August 3rd or 4th, depends on where you live in the world, which hemisphere you're in, Mercury's going to pop into your 7th house. And the 7th house is a house that rules all one-to-one relationships. It's known as the house of marriage in traditional astrology, but it really rules whatever long-term romantic relationship you're in. It can even rule platonic relationships too, like the one you have with your best friend. So with Mercury in the seventh house, you may really, really enjoy having a lot of one-to-one conversations with people this month. Sorry. You might find yourself really a lot more stimulated and maybe even doing your best thinking if you've got another person there with you. And the seventh house also represents contractors of all kind. So it's a really good idea. It's a good time for getting advice from a contractor, whether that's a doctor or a lawyer or a consultant. And you might just also find yourself thinking a lot about your relationship in general this month with Mercury in the seventh. Then Venus, the planet of art, beauty, and relationship, starts the month in the fifth house, which is such a fun house in astrology. It represents dating, it represents games, it represents anything you do as a diversion. It's also a very creative house as well. So if you have a creative side, Pisces, which a lot of Pisces do, you might really find that those creative juices are flowing a lot. It's also a wonderful time for dating if you happen to be single, because this is the house of dating and Venus is the planet of dating. So it's a nice overlap there. And it's a wonderful time for also getting along well with your children too, who are also ruled by the fifth. Then on August 11th, Venus is going to enter your sixth house. This is the house that Mercury just left. It represents organization. It represents your workplace. So with Venus in the sixth, it's actually a great time for getting along well with your work colleagues. You might even socialize with people after work. Maybe you go out for drinks with your boss, or maybe you're, find a work colleague that you connect to, but a very good time for the workplace. And since the sixth house rules all of our routines, those could be rituals like taking your medication, like going on a workout routine, all those little sort of habits and rituals that kind of keep us going in life. You're really going to be enjoying all those little habits too this month. So therefore, it's a wonderful month for starting good habits too. Because Venus, wherever we have her, is where we find some pleasure. However, Venus does like to indulge. So if you are on a diet, that's kind of the one habit that's a little hard to keep up on during this cycle. But everything else, especially if you have any beauty habits, for example, would be a great, this is a good time period for it. And then finally, Mars. Mars is a very active, very action-oriented, kind of feisty, sometimes can run into a little bit of conflict planet. Wherever we have Mars, we can feel super, super driven. We can really expend a lot of energy in that area of life, but we can also run into frustrations and conflicts as well. So Mars begins the month in your third house, and this house represents your siblings, your neighbors, your local neighborhood. So whatever community is just sort of right outside your home's door is the third house. And with Mars in the third, you're going to really be sort of driven to kind of move around your neighborhood a lot. Maybe you have a lot of things to do, like errands to run, for example. Mars in the third can be a wonderful time for being athletic in your local community. So if you're somebody who jogs or wants to start a jogging routine, or if there's anything else sort of in your local surroundings, maybe doing Tai Chi in the park, this would be a really great time for it. But Mars in the third can also run into conflicts with neighbors, and as well as frustrations in the neighborhood, such as like really annoying construction or maybe a downed power line that interrupts your work. So that can be the source of where you get kind of itchy and irritated this month. Then on August 20th, Mars moves into your fourth house of family and home. This is a very, very sort of like, this house really just is a very personal place in the zodiac. It's all about your actual physical home, the people you live with, as well as your family members. So with Mars in the fourth, this can be a feisty time, especially with your family, or even if you have roommates too. Mars in the fourth can also be a great transit for getting a lot of work done at home. If you happen to work from home these days, then you can just kind of throw yourself and kind of put some 10-hour days in there. And it's a wonderful time for actually for doing improvements on the home. It's kind of like your home is where all your energy is going this month. And Mars in the fourth house could mean, because the fourth house represents our past, that there's something that happened from a long, long time ago that all of a sudden gets you all annoyed too, with Mars in the fourth.
Yeah. So to go back earlier in the month, we're going to take a look at the two moons, beginning with the full moon in Aquarius, which falls in your 12th house, opposite the sun in Leo here in your 6th. and square that Uranus that I was speaking of before that might bring some conflict with neighbors. And Julia added to that with the fact that Mars is traveling along through this house too. This particular moon brings up themes of self versus community or tribe, the group. And so it does tend to pull in those two very different directions. And then there are themes of Saturn blended in here, along with the Uranus themes. Uranus wants to bring innovation, new ideas, whereas Saturn would really like to keep things the same and to make them more solid, more stabilized. And so that dilemma is built right into this as well. And so like how this might apply to your neighborhood situation, if you are having trouble with a neighbor, it may be that either you or the neighbor is trying to bring something new into the neighborhood and not necessarily respecting the reasons why the things that are in place already are there. And the conflict can maybe be smoothed out by having a conversation about, like, what is this going to disrupt? And why is it important and necessary? And how can it be introduced in a way that's satisfying for the innovative person in the mix and doesn't, disrupt overly much for the person who would really rather that things stay the same. So then the next thing that moon is right around August 11th. So if any of these kinds of conflicts are sort of already in place or building, right around this moon would be a time when things might come to a sort of a peak, an emotional peak particularly. So then the next thing that happens is that the sun, which has been traveling along through the sign of Leo and your sixth house, and which in last month's horoscope I said really signals a 30-day period of bringing your attention to how you can be better organized. On the 23rd, that sun moves on into the seventh house, which is the domain of partnership and relationship. Julia spoke of it before when she was talking about Mercury being here. And so wherever the sun goes, we should bring our attention. We should bring the sunlight of our attention, because things that we cast that sunlight on can thrive and grow. And so this being the realm of relationships, it's a really good time to put some attention on your partner or on your partnerability if you're single. And so this can be a really good time to put yourself out there and make yourself available for dating if that's what you want, or to invest a little high quality attention into a partnership that you already have. A few days later, the moon will come and join the sun here in this house in a new moon that we're calling perfectionism with scattered actions. Now, there's a bit of a dilemma in having Virgo in the seventh house to begin with, Pisces. And that dilemma is that Virgo has a very discerning eye and can veer into perfectionism and even criticism. And bringing that sensibility to your relationship arena can really make it difficult to love in the open-hearted and compassionate way that you really like to. But it does balance things, which is really good, because sometimes, maybe you're just a little bit too open and people tromp all over your boundaries. We don't want that, obviously. But there does have to be a balancing act during this moon, so that you don't bring so much attention into your partnership that you forget about yourself. And then there's this square to Mars that comes with this moon. And that's the Mars that Julia was talking about when she said that he enters into the fourth house and there can be conflict with family members. And this Mars is likely to take that criticism that the new moon may bring up in the relationship and then just sort of like intensify it and make it actually into, a verbal conflict, which might not be necessary or might be a way of asserting yourself. I don't know. I'm not there in your life, but I think that you're the best one to be the judge of that and how to best handle it. So things might flare up there, that's for sure. And that would be around the August 27th new moon or within a couple of days before or after that. All right, well, that's what we have for you, Pisces. You can always find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscopes tab. And if you are interested to know more about this month's moons, you can check out the videos that we have on our forecast page on our website. And if you want to know more about that Juno retrograde, definitely go into the July 2022 news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, where you'll find out more about that. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.